Hey everyone, it is Jen, and I am here to bring you your masterclass this month on money. So, this is a little bit different than some of the stuff that has been out in the Little Black Business Book, even the masterclass, since I'm talking to you face to face rather than, a screen share or slides or things like that. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because this is such an important topic and it's something so near and dear to my heart. And I want you guys to understand how much of an impact your money mindset and the way that you feel about money really affects your success. There is no two ways around it. It's just what it is. I know for me, for a fact, that my mindset shifts around money and about what I believed that I deserved took me from a coach making, about $5,000 a month, which isn't bad, right, to some people, but I was always also spending a lot of money on coaching and things like that. So, I was barely making ends meet with that $5,000 a month. And I was able to, consistently make that $5,000 or $6,000 a month. And once I started working on my mindset stuff, I instantly went from making $5,000 a month, or sometimes it was six, to doubling that in 1 month. In 1 month, which I thought was going to be the worst month ever for me, which was December of 2014. I actually doubled my income. So I actually went from making $5,000 or $6,000 a month consistently to making $12,000 in 1 month. I had my first five-figure month. And I completely, wholeheartedly, 100% contribute that to my mindset shifts around what I thought I believed I deserved. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. I have a couple points. So if you see me looking over there, it's because I want to make sure that I get everything. I don't want to miss anything because it's so important, like I said. So a lot of us have our money stories. And I know for me, I didn't even know I had a money story. I mean, I knew that, I had grown up in a certain way. I knew that my parents thought about money a certain way, but I really didn't think of it this way. I really thought like that's just life. That's just the way things are. And, I don't have, the sob story of, my parents were on welfare and all of that other stuff. I mean, we actually were upper middle class family, had everything that we wanted. We would go out to dinner, a couple times a week. We would go on vacation at least once a year. So, I mean, we had everything. I never wanted for anything as a child. My dad had his own business. He was making really good money. He actually had a Corvette. He always had a Corvette. He always kind of upgrades it every couple of years. But I remember my dad actually saying that he didn't want really people to know that he had gotten a new Corvette because then people would be jealous of him. They would think that he was bragging. They would put like curses on him and all of these evil spells. So I remember he got this little necklace. It was like a little necklace or bracelet or something with the evil eye on it. And he had it hanging from the rearview mirror of his Corvette because he figured that people were just going to curse him because he was more successful than them. So these are like the earliest memories that I have of money and what money meant. So to me, money was bad, or having money was bad, even if, we would have get-togethers and, we'd have his brothers and sisters, which were my aunts and uncles, come in. They'd be like, Mikey, you're so rich. And he would always be like, I'm not rich, and it was a bad thing, for him to have money. And it's crazy because he had been working since he was 14 years old in his own business. Like, he had grown his business from the ground up and actually earned this money. So it wasn't like he was just handed to him. It wasn't like it was, blood money or like he stole it or anything like that. It was well-deserved money and he was ashamed of it. And those are the things that, that came up as I started to look into my own money story. I started to realize that I had these subconscious thoughts about money being a bad thing and being rich being a bad thing and having more than just enough was a bad thing. And I actually had to do a lot of work. So anybody that's in, a similar situation where you're kind of just, you're so ingrained in like these messages and these stories that you've been told since you were a child. It's not easy to get out of it, but it is totally, totally possible. And I'm going to give you some tricks today on how you can do that for yourself. Now, I want to let you know that this didn't happen overnight. So I actually started working, I believe it was about at least 30 to 60 days when I started seeing like small shifts in my mindset. And definitely from like the 60 to 90 day mark is when things totally exploded. And I can tell you that, once I had that first 5-figure month, I've never had a month less than 5 figures again after that, because I had programmed a new belief in my head, and my new normal was 5 figures a month, every month in my business. That was what was normal for me now, but it took me a while to get there. So I want to talk a little bit about setting goals. I want to talk a little bit more about money. I want to talk to you about my practices and what I did and how you can start to implement some of these things for yourself. Now, we're all different. We all have different stories. We all have different stuff going on. So I want you to just, listen, take in some of this stuff, take in that stuff that resonates with you and the things that you feel like you can do, and leave the rest. So just because I was able to do it a certain way doesn't mean you're going to do it the same way. So I just want you to keep that in mind as I talk about the different things that I did. And I really want you to do stuff that actually resonates with you, that feels good, because it really is all about having this good feeling about money and about your worth. And once you can do that, the sky's the limit. I cannot tell you, how many clients I have that, I have clients that have this insane, crazy mindset that they're going to succeed no matter what, and they succeed. And then I have other clients that come from like this desperate place or this need place, and they never succeed. And not that they never succeed, but, we have to work through that first, because people feel your energy. So if you're going out there and you're posting stuff on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, you're doing to get your marketing out there, and you're like, shit, like I need to book clients, or I'm not going to eat this month, or I need to, sell out this program, or I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. When you come from that place, it's kind of repulsive to your people. They feel it and they don't want to work with you. So it never works. And I've had this experience so many times in my business, and I didn't understand until I was able to switch my mindset around certain things. So for example, I remember a specific example where I had signed up to go on a retreat with Mastin Kipp of The Daily Love, and I just knew it was the right thing for me. I felt it in my heart. I wanted to be there. I'd been following him for so long, and I, despite not having the money, was like, you know what, I'm going to give my deposit, and hopefully the stars will align and things will happen for me and I'll be able to pay the rest. Never happened. I, was desperate. I was stressed. I did not feel good. I was anxious every single day trying to figure out how the hell I was going to pay this money. It was tough. It was hard, and it's so ridiculous because I finally got to the point where I was like, I'm just going to email them and tell them, like, I can't go. I have to have this weight lifted off of my shoulders, and even though it's something I really wanted, it was causing me so much stress that it didn't feel good anymore. So once I was able to contact them and say, you know what, I can't go anymore, what can we do, all of this stuff, and that's a story for another time. I actually got screwed, but once I was able to release that, the stress just came off. Like, this happened in about it happened in July of 2014, and within a couple months, I was making more than enough money to pay in full for the retreat, which is like insane, right? But I had so much pressure on me to do this a certain way and have this money that it never came to fruition. I was holding on to it so tightly that I wasn't allowing it to come into my life. I wasn't allowing the abundance to come into my life. So let's talk a little bit more about goals. So I want you guys, when you think about setting your goals and your intentions, don't be so broad. Don't be so vague. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I want to reach 5 figures a month, or I want to reach, $100,000 a year. And they're not really specific in why they even want this money. So what is this money going to do for you? Why does it need to be 6 figures? Why does it need to be 5 figures a month? If you're working a job right now and you're making, let's say, I don't know, $4,000 a month. I don't know if that's even a standard or not, but let's say you're making $4,000 a month. That's about $48,000 a year, which it's not a bad income, right? I mean, if you compare to some of your other friends, that's actually, middle, maybe high compared to some people. So think about that. If that $48,000 a year is enough for you to, go work for somebody else for 40 hours a week, then why do you need $10,000 a month? If you could survive on 4, why 10? What is the difference going to be? Why do you need that? What is the intention behind that money? Is it just because you want to say, oh, I'm only successful if I make $100,000 a year, or I'm only successful if I make, 5 figures a month? Really think about these things when you're setting your goals. What is this going to allow you to do? Are you going to be able to save more money? Are you going to be able to go on vacations? Are you going to be able to take days off, work with less clients? Really just think about all of these things and why you want the money that you want. Why are you setting the goals that you're setting? And I love stretching myself, but I also am very, analytical. So I like to be realistic. So if I know that I'm charging only, $2,000 a month for my services, and I want to make $20,000 a month, that means I need 10 new clients every single month in order to reach that goal. Is that possible? Am I able to take on 10 new clients every month? So really start to think about those things as well. It's really about creating something that fits your needs and that doesn't, it may stretch you, but it's not going to stress you out the way, I was stressed out trying to come up with money for that retreat. So set your goals, set big goals, and then set smaller short-term goals. I think a lot of people set short-term goals, but they forget about setting those, 3-year goals, 5-year goals, 10-year goals. Don't forget about that part because that's important too. It's so easy to get caught up in just the now and the here and now and not look at the big picture. So set yourself up for success from the beginning when you're setting your goals and intentions. So along with that is to actually give the money a home. So some of you may have heard this before, but make sure that if you're saying, I need $10,000 this month, it's not in vain. It's not just so that you could have $10,000. Actually give it a home. I need $2,000 for my mortgage. I need, $500 to buy my kids' school clothes. I want to save $2,000. I need another $1,000 to pay taxes. Like whatever it is, make sure that you're actually giving that money a home. So what I used to do is, because I was like, I don't want to just manifest just enough, right? So what I would do is I would have a section and I would write it out every month. This is what I need money for in the next 4 to 6 weeks. And what I would do is I would have something for savings. So I would say, $2,000 in savings. And then I would have another section called play money. So that was money like for me to go out and either shop or to go out to a nice dinner or do some sort of activity. So I actually had a section there for, I called it play money. So have those things set up for yourself because you don't just want to make just enough. You want to make sure that you have enough to cover everything that you need plus some. So make sure that you're also factoring that in, but make sure that all of the money has a home. Also, another thing that I have my clients do when they're starting to set their goals, and I actually have people do this when they sign up for clarity sessions with me, is to let me know what their goals are in the next 6 months as far as income. And I get a lot of people that are, saying at least $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month, $50,000 a month even. I see come through. And I think it's funny because I'll get people that are, making zero now and then want to have, $50,000 months within the next 3 months. It's kind of like, you really have to put the 2 and 2 together, and it has to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, it's not going to happen. So take it from a different perspective. So if I have a client that's like, I need $5,000 a month. First thing we do is say, okay, well, what do you have for sale? Do you have One-on-one coaching. Okay, yes, I have one-on-one coaching. I charge $3,000 a month for 3 months, and so on a payment plan it's $1,000. So actually what they're having coming in is $1,000 from each client. So we know that they need to sign on 5 new one-on-one clients every month in order to reach their $5,000 a month cash goal. If they have other products and programs, like maybe they have a course or a membership site, then we can factor that in and say, okay, how many people do we need? So instead of looking at the number and saying, I need 5,000 or I need 10,000 or I need 20,000, start looking at it from a different perspective. How many people can you help? How many people can you serve? How many people can you serve with your business to get to that goal? So look at it that way, because if you're looking at a number like 10,000 or 20,000, it's going to seem so far off and so crazy. But if you take a step back and say, you know what, I only need to help 5 people this month. If I can help 5 people this month improve their health, improve their relationships, improve their business, whatever it is that you do, then I'll reach my goals. So look at it from that perspective. I love looking at it that way because it makes it so much simpler and easier. I mean, there's billions, right? 7 billion people on the planet. And can you help 5 people in a month? You can. And it just makes it so much more feasible, easier, and reasonable to look at it that way. So the next thing I did on a consistent basis every single day since August of 2014 was to track my money. So anybody that signed up for Lucky Bitch when I was promoting the affiliate, or anybody that's in the program, this is something that I learned from Denise, and it has worked, and I do it, and I continue to do it every single day. So before this, get this, I actually used to track my bills. I tracked my bills on an Excel spreadsheet. I knew exactly who I owed, how much my monthly payment was, what day it was due, and what the total debt was. And I tracked this all the time. I was always looking, and I was always, doing all this stuff to, bring in the bills. Like, it was crazy. I never got out of debt that way. I was focusing so much on the bills, on the debt, on the negative. Once I switched and started focusing and tracking the income, complete shift. Now my mind was on abundance. Now I was increasing the amount of money that was coming into my life, or at least I was noticing it more. And I really used to be the type of person that was like, I'm just broke. Even if I had money, it was always like, I'm broke, or I can't do that because I'm broke. I can't go on vacation. I'm broke. Like that was my thing. It was just easy to do that, right? Now, or actually once I started tracking the money, I was just like, holy shit, like, I am not broke. I'm not broke at all. Like, I may not be good managing my money, but I am not broke. Like, I have money coming into my life. I have this abundance into my life that I'm not even considering. I'm totally just counting it out before it even happens. So make sure that you are tracking your income. Obviously, it's smart to, know exactly what's going out too. But to be honest, I don't really track what goes out. I know what's going out every month. I just have it on a spreadsheet, but I don't look at it. I don't dwell on it. I don't spend my time on it. I really spend my time and energy on tracking the money that's coming in and the abundance that's coming into my life. It makes a huge difference. So the next thing you want to do is retrain your brain. So if you have any stories like I talked about in the beginning, where I have these stories about my dad and, about being rich and what that meant, you have to undo that. You can't just mask it. You have to be able to undo it and say, you know what, this doesn't work anymore. Now this is my new belief. So this is something that's not going to happen overnight. It didn't happen to you overnight. I mean, this is 30, I'm going by my age, I'm 30, almost 35. 35 years, 40 years, 50 years, however old you are, that's how many years you've been trained to think about money a certain way. So in order for you to think about it differently, you're going to have to retrain your brain. And this is the tough part, because this takes practice. This takes you doing it daily. You have to do it every day. You have to practice. You have to tell yourself a different story. And you have to continually tell yourself a different story until you start to believe it. And that is what the shift in the mindset is all about. And practice doesn't make perfect. There's always going to be stuff that comes up, but practice makes progress. And if you know that sometimes you'll get into, or out of the vortex, or something happens and you start thinking your old ways, as long as you can recognize that and say, you know what, that's not true. This is my new story. As long as you can recognize those things and then replace the thoughts, you'll be okay. Because it's not just going to automatically always be perfect. And this is with anything. One of the ways I did this was with my mantras. So think about it in a positive way. Like, you want your mantras to be positive. So I know when I worked with a coach on health, she would give me mantras, but the mantras were about, basically like, I have to lose this weight, and this is why I want to lose this weight. So again, I was focusing on the thing that I didn't want. So it didn't work for me. Instead, I would shift my affirmations to things like, I love the body that I'm in, I love working out, and I love being healthy. So make sure that the mantras that you're doing are positive. Money loves me. I'm a money magnet. I remember writing that on my hand a couple times while I was at work. And just, make sure that the mantras are positive. Set reminders for yourself. Have reminders on your phone. Make sure that you write them out daily. This is all the practice. This is all the retraining of the brain and retraining yourself to think differently and look at things differently. Because, it's not just about believing it. You do have to believe it, but you also have to feel it. So if you're just the type of person that's going to say these mantras without any feeling or without any meaning behind it, and just say, I'm just going to say these mantras, it's not working. You really have to believe it. You really have to feel it, and do this every day. Like, I know what it feels like to think that you're lying to yourself, because sometimes that's what mantras seem like. It's like, this isn't true. I'm telling myself something that's not true. But to be honest, you're just training your brain. So you keep doing it until you know that it's true. You keep doing it until you really believe and feel that it's true. And once you can get to that point, there's no turning back. You can always just revert back to that and say, you know what? This is the new normal. So make sure that you're practicing. Make sure that you're doing this on a daily basis. Make sure that you're saying your mantras in a positive way, and feel it and believe it and know it. Because once you do, you'll never go back. So a couple of things that I do, again, with my practice is gratitude. So I do gratitude two different ways. I do gratitude for the present. So gratitude for anything that I currently have, roof over my head, amazing clients, money in the bank. And then I also give gratitude for things in the future. So I talk about it again in the positive, in the present tense, and my mind starts to believe it. So I'll say things like, I am at my ideal weight. I am speaking at events all over the world. I make a minimum of $50,000 a month working with amazing clients. So all of these things that I want, I also give gratitude for. And this has worked wonders for me. I mean, when I first started doing this, I was a little skeptical, and I was like, this isn't really going to work, or I don't really believe it. But as I started to shift, and I would look back in my journals, and the things that I was giving gratitude for in the future, those things were actually coming true. So it's pretty insane. It works. You have to put the time in. You have to put the practice in. It's not just going to magically shift. You have to do the work. And another thing is the inspired action. I talk about this a lot, but again, it's not like you can just imagine it or say it and all of a sudden it's true. You actually have to take action towards your goals and towards making these things happen, also while believing that they are possible. So those are my tips on money. I am also going to have a PDF below to help you with some of these things, some of the statements that I do. I am statements every night. Again, a declaration. It's like you taking a stand for your worth. It's you taking a stand and you really believing that you can do this and you believe in it and you're just training your brain to believe this new thing that is so much better than to believe in that old thing that's got you clogged up and blocked up and everything like that. So I'm gonna put that below so that you guys can print that out and work on that on a daily basis. And I would also love to hear your thoughts. So after you watch this, make sure that you post in the group, tag me with any questions that you have about money. I know when I posed the question, a lot of people had interest. One person actually said, I understand that I have money blocks, but it's not about understanding. It's about knowing it and then also knowing how to switch it. So what can you do to change your story? What can you do to let that go and replace it with something better? That's what it's all about. So thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was helpful, and I will see you guys on the next lesson. Bye.